If you're working on improving your pull-ups or getting your first pull-up, you're probably going to have a lot of eccentric or negative pull-ups in your programming. Here's a quick breakdown to get the most out of those eccentric pull-ups. So I'll start by explaining a few tips in your eccentric pull-ups, and then I'll demonstrate a couple for you so you can really see how the work and the magic happens. We know that eccentrics are one of the quickest ways to build strength in specific lifts and especially challenging movement patterns like pull-ups. So we're not just training the lats and biceps and other muscles that are involved in a pull-up, we're also training the pattern of the pull-up, which is important. So this brings me to my first tip. When we're doing our eccentrics, pretend this is my pull-up bar, you want to stay as close to that pull-up bar as possible. I want it to almost graze your nose on the way down, right? So we're working on moving up and down in this straight line. So if I'm doing my pull-up, I'm going to pull up in a straight line to the bar. And as I come down, I'm going to come down in a straight line, keeping my body as close to that pull-up bar as possible. When I was first starting to train my loaded pull-ups, so pull-ups with extra weight attached to me, I hit a wall when I hit 20 kilos and I couldn't go up any further than that. So I had to just look at my pull-ups, take a video, look at my form and how I was pulling, and go back to the drawing board and basically reassess and redraw my pattern of the pull-up. So I was pulling myself away from the bar and then back to it. And this was taking out all of the energy in my pull. So I went back to the pull-up bar with no extra load. I did a ton of really, really slow eccentrics, going down really, really close to the bar, and even really slow concentric pulling up close to the bar. So I could really groove and reestablish that pattern of the pull-up. So number one, keep yourself really close to the pull-up bar. Number two is to keep the elbows in tight. So no matter which grip you're using, if you have a traditional straight bar pull-up or a thumbless grip, or if you're doing chin-ups, a wide grip, 45-degree angle, whatever that is, you want the elbows to be pulling in and forward as much as possible. Whether it's wide, right? I don't want those elbows to pull out this way. So as I practice that eccentric, avoid this from happening, right? Keep those elbows in and forward as you come down. Same with that chin up. We want those elbows in and forward for as long as possible. So elbows in and or forward. Number three is to keep your shoulders down away from the ears as much as possible, or for as long as possible. We know that when we start our pull-up, we're starting in this dead hang position here, and the first movement of your pull-up is depressing those scapula, right? We want those shoulders to pull away from the ears. So when you're doing your eccentric, you want to keep the shoulders away from the ears for as long as possible. So we're basically doing the opposite, keeping those shoulders away from the ears until the very end, when you can allow yourself to go into that dead hang. Next is the hollow body, or a cohesive unit of your body. As you're going through your negative pull-up, you want your body to stay in one cohesive unit. So you could practice hollow holds on the floor. Practice keeping your body in this hollow position. I like to cross the tips of my toes. Some people cross at the ankles in order to keep this body as one cohesive unit. It's a lot harder to pull when you've got to pull the upper body and then the rest of your body with it. If you're doing a chin up or a more extended, exaggerated extension of the spine, you can also practice your cohesive body unit in this overextended position as well. So I'm crossing at the ankles, I'm squeezing my thighs tight and maintaining that body position as I go through my pull-up or my wide grip. And the last element of this is time under tension. When you're doing your eccentric pull-ups, you want to make sure you're holding at the top. So we've got that really nice flexed arm hang at the top. And then as you lower, the more time under tension, the more benefit you're gonna get out of these pull-ups. I like to set up all the way at the top of the pull-up so I don't have to pull up or jump at all into it. So if that's possible for you, you want to start all the way at the top. So I'm just going to lean forward and place myself here at the top of my pull-up. And then we want to very slowly, as slow as you possibly can, take that eccentric all the way down. So I'm going to demonstrate one for you, and then I'll talk about ways to implement and progress this, right? So I lean forward here. I've got my elbows in and forward. I'm pulling myself close to the bar. I've got my shoulders away from the ears. Once I've established this hold and stop swinging, then I can slowly start to lower myself down. Make sure you're breathing. I've got my feet glued together. I'm keeping my elbows in nice and tight, keeping my shoulders away from the ears. My nose is just grazing past that pull-up bar, and I'm taking as long as I can to get down to the bottom of this pull-up. So I'm thinking about the pattern of my pull-up, thinking about keeping those lats nice and engaged. Make sure I continue to breathe until I end up all the way in that dead hang at the bottom. So I like to also implement eccentric pull-ups at the end of a set. So when I'm on my last set of pull-ups and I reach the top of that last pull-up in that set, I'm gonna come down as slowly as I possibly can just to eke out all the benefits that I can out of that set. If you need to progress your negative pull-ups, you have a nice pattern of the pull-up, you're trying to get your first set of 10 or your first set of 15, or you're working towards that loaded pull-up, then your next step is to do your eccentrics with extra load. So you'll grab your external load. This is such an easy way to progress these eccentrics. Safely get yourself to the top, and you'll find that some people like the weight to be a little bit higher or lower. I squeeze the handle between my thighs just to keep that body in a cohesive unit. And you could do this eccentric with that external load, keeping that body tight, keeping the shoulders away from the ears, grazing the nose past the pull-up bar, elbows in and tight, nice and slow, all the way to the bottom with that dead hang. And that's your negative pull-up. You can, of course, do this with assistance, with a band or an assisted pull-up machine. That way you can work those eccentrics with a little bit more time under tension until you can really work those with your own body weight. If you found this helpful, please like, share, and subscribe. If you have any questions about eccentric or negative pull-ups or any part of your pull-up journey, drop them in the comments below. Thank you so much for joining, and I'll see you next time.